Evil's Comics. This guy right here is Evil Mike, or Mike if you prefer, and I got a review for you today. But before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe on this guy's channel. It does help. I'm trying to hit that 1K, sweet spot. Hit that bell if you already haven't. It'll keep you notified when I drop reviews. Alright, so you see in the thumbnail, we're talking about The Gallows Man, issue number 1, written by Brandon Ingram, art by Helen Boulton, and then the cover art is done by Thomas Tikas. And it does have variant cover art, but I received a review copy of this, so I wasn't privy to that. But they are featured on Instagram and stuff like that if you're so interested. And this is from our guy Dismay Comics. That's a part of the big overall comic community that's out there. He's on YouTube, has a channel. He's in the live streams, a bunch of the hangout chats that I hang out at. Alright, so enough about that. So the kind of plot census or whatever, the feel of this book is like Batman 66 mixed with Inglorious Bastards or Kick-Ass or The Boys, something like that. It's like, it's got that old comic book feel mixed with like very gratuitous, violence kind of thing. And that's kind of the theme of this book, so just take that in mind. I'm going to flash like a mature warning, because there needs to be a mature warning advisory for this issue. But with all that being said, let's get into it. So it takes place, it starts out and we're like in this chase scene in this warehouse district of this town, and we're with a bad guy named the Walrus, and we find out the main running bad guys of this book are Nazis, and that they have it set up kind of like Dick Tracy bad guys. Like they all have these themes and these gimmicks, which I absolutely loved. So we're following the Walrus, and he's trying to get away from our dude, the Gallows Man, and he keeps calling out to his dude, the Jackal, and the Jackal's not answering him or showing up. Walrus is quickly trying to make like a retreat, and eventually he does find the Jackal, and we kind of find out why the Gallows Man is called the Gallows Man, right? He's hanging people. He catches these bad guys and he hangs them. Walrus turns around and the Gallows Man is right there, tries to shoot him but just not quick enough. Basically he gets knocked out, tries to run away, and we meet Gallows Man's sidekick, which is the newsboy, or Newsy, and he has kind of like these noose gag gimmick weapons, because as the Walrus runs away, he basically falls in the noose-o-matic, and it basically catches him and launches him up in the air and hangs him. So R.I.P. the Walrus, whatever. The Gallows Man and the newsboy kind of high-five each other, exit the warehouse, and we move on. We get this whole old school, radio, the Gallows Man, it's the most recent thing out there, which I absolutely love that kind of stuff when they have that in the books. But basically it's the villain, and the main villain, and he's sitting there like, I can't believe the Gallows Man has stopped me again. We jump over to the I don't know if it's referenced as the Gallows Man's secret base, or this is actually what he calls his mansion, but he calls it the Guillotine, which I love all the it's kind of like Batman. He's got the Batarang, Bat Mansion. So we go to the Guillotine. I'm thinking it's the secret base, but it's kind of, it could be both. So basically, it's kind of like a Bruce Wayne style thing where he has a mansion. Underneath, he's got a secret lair, basically, and that's where he conducts all his research and investigation stuff. And we go down here, we meet a couple different new characters. We meet Bertwald, who is the butler, and then we meet this guy Jamie, and I'm assuming Jamie's more their information guy down there. There's not a lot of understanding of what Jamie is or who's going on. Right now he's just like a friend and knows the Gallows Man kind of thing, and he's hanging out. But they're talking about the recent, and I'm just kind of scrolling through this, but they're just talking about the recent outing, and it leads into the bigger investigation, trying to find out why the Nazis are coming back, why they're over here, kind of thing. and who's behind it, kind of thing. There's mention of a character named the Frog, who the Gallows Man believes is like, the person who's going to lead him in the right direction. We jump over and we have this like very like secretive kind of meeting with the bad guys, some hoods going on, a whole bunch of flags and stuff, as you can see. But we get our what looks like one of our major villains. It might not be the major villain, but for this issue it is. But Major Swastika, I'm going to stop it right there, but it's going to be up here. But I actually love the design of this guy. But basically, he comes off as like a friendly villain at first, and it's funny because one of his cronies says something, iffy to him, and he has to drink like he's offered a drink, and it turns out to be like some sulfuric acid. He's got like a Joker kind of gimmick to him. Oh, you think that's funny? This is funny, kind of thing. Ends up killing one of the guys, but we actually find out this is a flashback scene. This goes back to the Gallows Man origins or something like that, and we find out that it's the Gallows Man, and it's his partner at the time, the Sparkle. And at the time, he wasn't called the Gallows Man; he was called the Gallows Boy. I'm assuming he was the sidekick in the situation, but it's the Gallows Boy and the Sparkle that are trying to. They have infiltrated this gang, and they're trying to, stop him. They managed to infiltrate. As far as stopping him, it doesn't go down. The Sparkle's basically revealed, and they get overwhelmed, like really quickly. They do take out most of the like henchmen type guys, and I kind of mentioned I'm gonna scroll through a lot of this, but eventually they get overwhelmed. In this scene, we get this whole Negan Bat like Walking Dead scene where the Sparkle is basically beaten to death with one of those symbols, but basically the Sparkle dies. We find out that this is a story that he's telling the newsboy about his origin, and really he's reflecting on it at the same time, but it goes back into this is the main bad guy of the series kind of thing, and it has ties to why the Nazis are around and that kind of stuff. We do find out afterwards that like the Gallows Boy was basically dropped off after the Sparkle was beaten to death, and they didn't really do anything to him. They just dropped him off and left him there. Maybe defeat in his sadness of losing his partner kind of thing was their gimmick. We go back to the cave after he's told the story and stuff, and the Gallows Man like, yeah, I'm turning in for the night, I'll see y'all later, deuces, and as he's walking away, that's kind of when the newsboy was like, well, who is the Sparkle? And we learned that the Sparkle was actually this guy named Paul, and he was the Gallows Boy, the Gallows Man, his brother, they were like a tag team duo kind of thing. It kind of reminds me of like the Hawk and Dove story there. So we jump back over, and it's a new day, and the Gallows Man is waking up, and I think it's funny that he sleeps in his mask kind of thing. And he does have like a pet, gallows dog kind of thing that's there. But and his name is Hangmutt. But we see him getting ready, for the next day to continue this investigation. And eventually we do see that he does take off the mask. He does have an alter ego. But we do find out his real name is like Bart Dickerson. And he believes that he is like keeping that alter ego secret, for the same kind of reasons that a lot of other superheroes, worried about villains coming after his family or his home, that kind of stuff. So basically we follow Bart, and he's nice to everybody, just walk through the city, eventually finding out that he does work in a morgue. So basically he does kill a lot of these people, and then, kind of works on them once they're dead kind of thing. But he does have a partner named Mr. Johnson, and they do some proceedings on a dead individual and stuff. Eventually we jump back over, and they go to lunch. There's a conversation. It's a long day with the morgue stuff. And again, I'm kind of, I don't want to reveal everything that's here, Um, but eventually we do go back to like the morgue stuff, and it's just more talk of, it's more learning who Bart is in the real world, and that kind of stuff. As Bart is finally getting off of work that night, we do see that his alter ego is not so safe, that he is being followed maybe by the same villains he's been after. And that's not necessarily like told right now. Um, so we do jump back finally with the Gallows Boy and Newsboy, and we have this whole scene where they're kind of catching like petty criminals, I would say. Because there's a bunch of different like homeless style villains that are here, and it's like this guy, I wrote him down, it's like X-Ray is one of them, and the Rusty Hook is another. Hypno Ray and Rusty Hook, but they're like these homeless guys that they're kind of bad but not so bad. Like Hypno Ray is bad because he convinces like tellers to like accept his expired coupons as legit coupons. It's not really the evil stuff or morally bad stuff. It's just kind of, I don't know, just stuff that a kid would try and get away with kind of stuff, or old people, I don't know. But they're basically looking for the frog. That's why they're in this like homeless people alley, and Gallows Man is just kind of pointing out people to be wary of. He doesn't kill any of those guys or anything. But he does eventually run into the frog. They have this whole like, Frog's got these henchmen. He's got to beat down these henchmen. Eventually the frog does what the frog would do. He runs away. And before he gets caught, he takes a cyanide pill, and they don't get to question him kind of thing. And and of course, this is the next point in the Gallows Man investigation, so he's really frustrated. He's like, no, what the, But at the very last panel, we do see that the people that were following him are still following him. They witnessed this scene with the Gallows Man and the frog, and they're basically like following his back trail, and that's where this issue leaves. There is like a letters page that Brandon has set up at the end of each of these issues, where like he'll address like fan mail and stuff like that. But in this issue, since it was the first issue, there is none of that in this one. But he wrote a little bit on like why he did this, what this is to him, like what it represents, kind of thing. And that's basically it. I really love the Gallows Man. The art was fantastic. Like I said, like I mentioned before, this is a Kickstarter. You can find the link down below, and I think right now the first 3 issues are out. I have currently only read the first issue, so I'd still be fresh and just for this review kind of thing. But I really enjoyed this. I could see how a lot of people would be into this, and like I rolled my eye for that regard, because there's a lot of love for the boys, Kick-Ass, that style of like comic book, like with the intense violence and stuff like that. I could also see how this could be off-putting to some people if they're not big fan of the whole like use of the schmarshtuka, but no, it didn't. None of that stuff bothers me, especially the way it's used in this, because this is more like a satire version of a comic book, and it's done in the right way in my fashion. Like the bad guys all have these gimmicky like super villain things going on about them. I'm still like, I heard an interview part about the homeless alley part, and it does play kind of a bigger part in the overall story, and that part got me like really thinking and curious about the morality level into the Gallows Man, what he's teaching this boy. He has a group of supporters around him. He works at this morgue. He's an established citizen in the city that they're from, kind of thing. So there's some interesting things that get my mind, twerking in the background, kind of thing. Like especially right after I read this, But I really enjoyed this, and I can see how a lot of people. I mean, the Kickstarter is already funded. I think the first day the Kickstarter was launched, it was already fully funded. So this isn't something that's just going to dissipate into the wind or whatever. This is, a fully funded project at this point. and I have referenced or mentioned that the first 3 issues are out. I think, the first 2 issues, I think. I'm not positive, don't quote me on this, but no, I do plan to read the next issue and check that out, because I'm highly interested to see what he did. But I think it's a fantastic job on Brandon and Helen's part. There's some other things I've heard about, issues in the future as far as the art increasing, getting better. But guys, that's my review. Let me know down below, did you read The Gallows Man? Were you a backer of this Kickstarter? After hearing this Kickstarter, or seeing the images that I've posted here, blasted here, did this get you interested, kind of thing? Let me know down below. If this is not your bag, let me know down below. I love those kind of comments, and I'm pretty sure Brandon is looking for feedback specifically about his book, but guys, that's my review. All I can say is thank you for watching, especially if you made it to the end. Please go check out the Kickstarter link down below. I promise you won't be disappointed. It is a fantastic read. And it is a deep read. It's 60 pages. Most Kickstarters are usually 32, ish. Maybe 12 sometimes. Okay, but guys, that's my review. I'll let you go. Bye!